I did invite Larson Danielson. Hopefully we'll see him here in a minute. He's the guy that we talked to. So I don't know if you guys, well, we'll get into it in the meeting, but hopefully he shows up and he can give us a little rough idea about this construction delivery method we've been kind of talking about.
Is there an ultimate goal, John, is to bid that out ultimately?
Well, that's why I wanted to hear his little spiel, Mike.
Okay.
John's familiar with, and so is Bob. So you have the ability in the public domain or public works projects or, municipal projects to do these service contracts. So like, Chris Willoughby's on a service contract, the girl that Mary Lou's using for HR, they're on service contracts. You can write a service contract. They stretch that a little bit for engineering as well. So like Haas, for instance, we don't have to bid his contract. And then what they do, John could probably speak to this better than I do. You can actually write a design build contract if you so choose, and have them. What he'll describe to us is he bids it's a negotiated design build contract with them, but then they provide you with competitive bids for the work.
Okay.
And what that allows us to do then, not having inside expertise for running the work or designing the work or those kinds of things, it lets you hire an engineer, or rather an architect in this case, architect engineer or construction manager sort of engineer, which is what Larson Danielson, Tunham Blank, and those big guys are. You probably experienced this on your Boys and Girls Club. You may not have had competitive bids, but you had like a design build contract.
Well, we haven't built anything actually. We haven't built anything. We're in the process now through our capital plan, and we've engaged Tunham Blank. But our first full building for this Boys and Girls Club is in the future. It's upon us.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the one, I want to say Porter County or late, not too long ago, maybe in the last 5 years.
Probably. There's one, this was done in Valpo.
Okay.
By Tunham Blank.
Yep.
Probably the one you're thinking of.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, so you had the option of going back to like a traditional construct, which would be, you can bid out the design work, you can bid out the construction work, separate packages, you can do a construction management contract where they do the bidding process.
Sure.
The problem for us is then who controls the construction, meaning, who watches over the project. You either pay the architect to do that at some point, or the nice thing about this design build concept is you kind of tie it all up in a nice neat bow, meaning they work with you up front on the design, you control that with them. They come up with some suggested numbers like, preliminary engineering sites kind of things. And then they bid out the actual work. So then they hire the contractors, but they contract with us under this umbrella, and we get to, yay or nay and pick and choose and that kind of thing. But we don't have to watch them. We don't have to, make sure the plumber's doing the job that you know what I mean?
Somebody else is the GC. There
you go. Now you can bid a GC contract, but then you still have to bid and get the design work done.
Sure.
In the case of one of these kinds of projects, this is a real simple shell slam dunk sort of a project. It's not a complex where the engineering is going to be overwhelming or, but it's nice to have it tied up in a nice neat package, I think. We could talk about any other methods, but that's kind of where I'd like to go. So John Coker, last time we went around this whole deal, like we've been telling you, we've been working on this for a long, long time. But the last time we went around, we had an outfit called Chester out at Valpo. Fire department coughed up some money and got the design drawings done. And, well, not design drawings done, but preliminary drawings done. Presented to the council. They said, yeah, let's keep moving. And then the fire commission, we got busy with election, all the rest of that crap. But John's suggestion was, hey, let's get another number. So we talked about that, and then everybody got busy. So between that and the new contract, everything else. So.
Gotcha.
So I don't see anybody else, which is slightly disappointing. Hopefully he'll show up shortly. I was going to try to get him in and out real quick. We can talk about some other things until he gets here. He's a guy named Tony OSS. He's with Larson Danielson. But we could do the same sort of thing with really any contractor that we think has the capability. And then some engineering, some architects do the same thing. Okay, so here's our agenda. You guys probably saw this, I hope. So we'll talk about that Roman numeral O or 1 if Tony shows up. Equipment purchase, we talked about this with our capital program, Mike. What I think we'll we're going to go to, and I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit. Number 3 is the FDIC. You've heard me talk about this before. We go to it's really nice because the National Fire Show, so to speak, is in Indianapolis every year. We're going to go in April. We stay at a hotel overnight and we go to the show, and that allows us to not negotiate, but to research items. That's where we got the dope on that new SCBA units that we wound up getting the grant for. You get to see the latest stuff. It's just like any trade show. So we're going to go down there again in April. We'll probably try to fire it up again with the fire engine guys. We actually have that rescue vehicle, which is that we put $100,000 in there. It won't cost that much for replacing that. I don't know, it's probably 30-year-old Suburban that we've got maybe this year. And then the fire engine, if we do the capital plan like we're talking about, that's anywhere from, we put in $750, but I know we'll get it done for less than that. But we'll probably get to that show and try to come up with some, put them about the work of getting us some quotes. Remember, Mike, we talked.
That one takes 365 days to build.
Right.
Fire truck. Once you sign the papers, it's a whole year.
So that's the equipment purchases thing, capital plan sort of thing, and then plus the station remodel. I put these other couple things on there. This SCBA compressor, just to bring you guys up to speed, that's another fairly large ticket item. With the new SCBA units, we went from a 4,500 pound bottle from a 2,500 pound bottle to a 4,500 pound bottle. What that means, that's PSI. It means you get to stay in the fire longer. It's lighter, it's better, but we have to upgrade the compressor that we have that fills those tanks. So that's one of the things on our list of things to do.
And this was the $130,000 grant that we got just for Long Beach to get all that equipment.
So in terms of, let's say we tie up Larson and/or Ton and Blank and get some rough idea what they think. When we did it with Chester out of Valparaiso, he needed some money up front to keep moving. There was going to be a $10,000 commitment. The fire department gave him a couple of grand to keep him rolling. And then we kind of let that fall. The fire department actually spent about $6,000, I think, on some design drawings from a local architect prior to that time, under what we thought was going to be that standard contract, like you mentioned, Mike, like you'd go out and get a design drawings done by an architect, and then you'd go bid it out. Once we got a hold of these other guys and talked to the contractors, that's when we kind of got convinced that it's probably better to go with this other delivery method.
The thing it's nice about Ton and Blank is they have their own architectural group.
Right. Yeah. So that's all these guys do. Like LD, Ton and Blank, Chester. They all have in-house architectural capability. It's just kind of gotten to be a preferred delivery method, just because you're not screwing around. What happens is you can't unless you have somebody on staff that's sharp enough to watch the project. You're going to pay somebody to watch the project, which for us, that's why your architect's going to get 7 to 10% of the contract just to do the drawings, and then you're going to get another 7 to 10% to run the project. So it turns into real dollars. Let me try to get Tony on the phone. See if he's coming. He may have had trouble logging on. I don't know how much of this Zoom stuff they do.
I had some Zoom issues. I had to relaunch some stuff. Wanted to update.
Hello?
Hey, Tony, John Wall with the town of Long Beach.
Oh, shoot, John, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Are you in a position to jump on, or?
I'm not. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
My kid has a choir concert tonight, and my wife actually interviewed for the Supreme Court this today, and we drove back, and I forgot we had a choir concert tonight. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
My sincerest apologies. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
It's a chaotic day.
That's all right. Life gets in the way sometimes. So there's no sense keeping you on the phone and having you throw a little something out on the microphone, right? Better off to wait for a different day.
If you want me to throw something out on a microphone, I can.
Well, how much
Zoom right now? I can do that. And I got probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't think I need more. I don't think you want me to spend more than a few. So
no, that's correct. All I'm really counting on you to do. We've got a new individual on the fire commission. If you could just give us a quick rundown on the construction methods, that's really all we need. Like in other words, this design build concept and what you guys can do.
Certainly. Certainly. Do you want me to jump on Zoom?
Well, can you guys hear Tony?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead on the phone, Tony.
Okay. I sincerely apologize to everyone. It's just been a chaotic day, but happy to speak to you folks about what we do a bit and a little bit about what public design build is and how it works. John and I have met a few times over the years and talked about this. Public design build is a method of construction delivery that's been authorized by the state of Indiana. It's been around in the state of Indiana for, I'm going to say, probably in the range of about 10 to 12 years. The system itself is based around a two-step process. An RFQ process and then an RFP process. So request for qualifications and then a request for proposals. That process sometimes is split and sometimes it's actually combined into a single submission by the contractors. The key component, the way this sort of starts with any municipality or public agency who wants to use public design build is the entity must essentially begin by approving the use of the contract method, approve the use of a design build process for a new project, and then what you need to have is you need to designate someone to be the design criteria developer. And what that person does is they develop the outline of the project. That takes on various forms. Sometimes that can be relatively, I wouldn't say vague, but early and preliminary and conceptual in nature. Sometimes it takes on a little bit more detailed approach. It just depends on the project. We've kind of seen it done both ways. We've done a fire station that was pretty preliminary when we saw the information, and we've done schools where it was very detailed. So I digress. The design criteria developer is someone that you would have to bring on. That's an independent agent that comes in and develops this criteria. You then issue a request for qualifications, the RFQ. The RFQ is a process in which it allows you to winnow the field, essentially. If you feel that you're going to have a robust response to your project, you use the RFQ then to qualify your applicants, to qualify those who are proposing to you. There are specific requirements within the state law about certain questions that need to be asked of the responding contractors or design builders, and then beyond that, you can ask as many other questions as you deem necessary to help you qualify. Your design criteria developer and yourself would have to establish a scoring criteria, score sheet essentially, that you use to then score each of the proposals or the request for qualification responses when they come in. The next step then is going to a request for proposals, and what happens there is you issue a request for proposals to the contractors that this request for proposals is prepared by your design criteria developer, and that has the information about your project, some standards for how you might want to approach it, and then you release it to your proposers, and they sort of come up with a proposal for you. There are various forms that can take, and it might take longer to kind of go through what that format is. There are some models of that proposal that are called a progressive method. There are others that are more direct as far as the proposal. But essentially what ends up happening is we would prepare a response, a proposal to you, that would be in two parts. There's a qualitative proposal, which essentially outlines, again, our qualifications and our plans for how we would approach your project. It's just completely qualitative in measure. It may actually involve some preliminary drawings or schematics or elevations to let you see what we think your project would look like. Then there's a quantitative, the price proposal. So there's two components to this proposal. You would have to assign a team. They're called the I don't remember the exact terminology. You have to have a review committee, technical review committee that you assign. And that can involve some of your board as well as some other outside or you deem necessary. There are some criteria for how you set that up. That design, that TRC, the Technical Review Committee, reviews the qualitative proposals and they score those. Those are all scored before the price proposal is open. When you open the price proposal from each of your respondents, you then essentially create an adjusted price, which is the price proposal amount divided by whatever your score is. You know, if we submitted a proposal for $1 million and you gave us a score of 90 points on our qualitative proposal, our adjusted score would then be $1 million divided by 90 points, whatever, you know, that number works out to, where that's our score, and the low score is who you would then proceed with. And that may be a little long-winded.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. I wanted you to, that's the first time you and I have gotten into this level of detail, but I think that's great for everybody to have heard that. So give us an idea of how many times you've done this or what kind of projects this is used for in the municipal realm.
So as far as design build projects, I would say that I have probably submitted or worked on proposals for 15 to 20 of these over the last 10 years. I have done multi-million-dollar school programs. For those of you who are, obviously you're all in the area, so New Prairie School Corporation, their entire renovation and additions program that they completed was all done under public design build. So we've done school projects under public design build. Fire stations, we did the brand new LaPorte Fire Station, was done under a public design build statute. We built the Porter County Animal Shelter on State Road 49, just south of Valparaiso. That was under a public design build statute. As well as, well, I'm trying to think of some other types of projects. Oh, we did 2 projects for Purdue University. We did a couple small greenhouses for them under public design build as well.
So give me, if you got 2 more minutes, Tony, just give us what's the benefits and if there are any downsides to doing this as opposed to a standard architect / bidding out to general contractors or construction manager. Just a real quick.
So, you know, one of the distinct advantages of design build is a single source of responsibility, and I think that is the real primary difference between any other delivery method for public projects from design build. And what I mean by that is essentially you have one group to work with, right? You're not left in a position where you need to negotiate or you know, mediate issues that might come up between a designer and a contractor that you hired under separate contracts. There is a time component. Oftentimes, and you know, I think that I would argue that it is completely true. We can accelerate and move things a little quicker on design build, and that's partially because of our ability to essentially, you could start construction before design is really 100% complete. You know, there could be some details that we're ironing out for some of the finishes and things like that you would definitely need to have done in a traditional model in order to get a price. We can start construction a little earlier, so you can condense and overlap some of the design and construction processes. You know, and the other advantage really is your collaborative ability with the design and construction team. You can get the designers and, you know, with your fire chief as with your contractor, and they can sit down and walk through exactly what you need. You know, the one thing we always like to say is, you know, we understand what value is and what things cost on a construction site, but as far as what the value is to you as a client, you know, we really need you in the room to understand that. And our job is, and we do this a lot in design build, is to provide you all the information, to provide you the tools and the data you need to make the right decisions. And sometimes that gets lost in a traditional project where, you know, a designer on his own may not really quite understand the cost ramifications or schedule ramifications of a design choice. So,
one last thing, Tony, if you got 1 more minute.
I certainly do.
I know with the supply chain issues around here, I'm thinking this is going to wind up as a metal building. It'll probably wind up extending over the existing structure. That's kind of our concept, and we can go over that later. But essentially, are we looking, like what's going on? I know it's a horrendous time to make this kind of prognosis, but what would you anticipate if you're looking at a 2 or 3 bay addition to a fire department with a metal building? Are the metal buildings like 2 years out or a year out, or do you know?
No, so I will tell you that as of about 3 months ago, the metal building industry went completely haywire, and they were out essentially like 42 to 50 weeks for a metal building. But I haven't had an update, John, in the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. But I know as of about a month ago, things had stabilized a bit for them. I think they had sort of caught back. I think there was, at least from our end, the suppliers we work with, they had caught up a little bit. They had reallocated some resources, and they had some orders that kind of dropped out that were pretty big from some big buyers. And we're more around like a 30-week timeline for some buildings. And that's one thing that can help you on a design build type end, is that if you can get to a point where you can quickly determine your footprint and your general parameters of if it's a metal building, you can procure things a little quicker, right? You can jump in and say, yeah, let's get that ordered, let's get that going, and we can make some of these other decisions to hone in on the interior design a little bit. There's an advantage there, a procurement advantage in some cases, as long as you set it up right. But but you're right, John. Things, as you mentioned, things can change in a heartbeat. It really, it's hard to really judge. And a year and a half ago it was lumber. A year ago it was steel. Then it became metal buildings and roofing insulation. And now things seem to have gotten a little better, but I don't know what's going to happen in 3 months.
Okay, fair enough. So this process then, Tony, if you I'm sorry to hold you so long.
No, you're fine.
The duration of the procurement process that you just described, is that a couple of months, 6 months?
No. Hang on. If I lose you here, I'm gonna drive about 150 yards before I get out of this bad spot. I think I would be happy to walk you through that and work with you. You can accelerate that a little bit. I don't think it's a 3-month process, especially for the project you're looking at. From what we've looked at in the past, if it's similar nature, it's probably a month. I think it's a fair timeline given the backlog of stuff that's in the system right now. I think if you got it out in the street, you probably need 3 or 4 weeks in front of contractors for them to give you your team time to score. It depends on how good a criteria you can put together. And I don't know, did I ever share with you the information or the RFP and RFQ from the LaPorte project? You
shared some things with me. It's been a little bit since I've looked at them. I'll look at them before we get together again.
Okay.
Anybody else have any? Anybody else
share any of that stuff with you? So.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Anybody else have anything quick for Tony before we cut him loose?
Just one thing with that design build process. Is the town then obligated to go with the contractor that has the best adjusted score? Is that statutory, or how does that work?
I mean, you're obligated at that point to, if I remember the way the law is written, you're obligated at that point to enter into negotiations with that contractor. There are provisions where, this process becomes, there could be some little things you want to talk about after that proposal comes in. And if you can't come to an agreement, there are provisions that says you can go to the next bidder.
Gotcha.
I mean, obligated, yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to, the way it's kind of written is once you go through that process and you qualify people, you'd have to enter into that. And I've never really seen that happen. I think, if you're going to get good responders. You have the opportunity to qualify them based on, the criteria you want to use through the RFQ process. And then, the scoring process of the proposals is very, very qualitative. It's a subjective process. And I will say that, you and your team have a pretty good amount of control. So, as far as picking who you want.
Well, that's the other benefit to this type of delivery, rather than getting the ultimate low bid on a GC contract and having to deal with problems through the whole project.
Yeah, and to that end, if you have two contractors that you both think are equally, and I think what ends up happening in those situations is the scores bear that out. Your technical review committee scores them relatively close to each other, and they've given you a similar product in their proposal, and usually it works out.
Okay, great. Anything else for Tony before we cut him loose?
No, very, very helpful.
All right, thanks, Tone. And then once I take the temperature of these guys, then I'll get back to you and we'll set up some meetings or something.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
Bye. There you go. I don't think we need this agenda for anything else. I'm going to knock it out so I can see your pretty faces even better. So yeah, it'd be the, I don't know what else you guys want to spend some time on. I basically wanted to have you hear it from the horse's mouth. In my mind, I've been around construction. Really, I've been around architecture, construction, and engineering construction all my life. And I can tell you the pitfalls for an unwary owner are significant. So that's why I think this might help guide us through this thing. If we were talking about a $10 million project with all kinds of pitfalls and lots of complications, then you have to revisit it because the dollars are, significantly greater. And although this is a big project for us, I think it would be easier to control it with that kind of a concept.
I don't have any questions at this point, John.
So how do you build a committee, John? This technical review committee, it sounds like there's some responsibility on that committee to come up with a scoring process and all that. I mean, it takes some experience, I think, doesn't it? I mean,
Tony, to honestly with you, Tom, I've never done this specifically the way Tony's describing it. I think we need to get him and or Willoughby involved, and we sit down and say, okay, let's, he gave us, that's a real brief synopsis. I think we need to get him in a room with Willoughby and us. Maybe if we want to schedule another fire committee. I mean, we're not in a huge rush to get this done. I just hate to, miss this opportunity with us kind of getting the nod on the capital program and then stub our toe again. So I think if we could set something up, I know Mike's gone for a week or two. So maybe if we set something up, I don't know, late March or whenever you're back, Mike, we could get Tony involved and get Willoughby involved, and maybe we could have him send us some more information time so that we can get more comfortable with this concept.
That sounds good. I'd be happy to be part of that committee too. I've done some large projects myself on the branch banking side. So I'm not the expert, but I've got some scars in my body that might help out in the committee.
So that would be my thought, Tom. I think I'll get Tony to give us, Mike, you're gone for, I'm sorry, what you said,
I'm back on the 21st, I believe.
Okay. So that's the third week in March. Maybe I'll see if Tony's got anything going on that week. How the rest of you look for that?
I'm out the last week of March, but I'm not critical. So
this is the third week, Tom.
Oh, I'm gone the 23rd to April 1st.
Oh, okay. John Coker, how you look?
Gone from the 8th to about the 15th.
Well, let me see if Tony's got any time that 21st, 22nd. I'm sorry, you're back on 21st, right, Mike?
Yeah. But that week, the 22nd on, I'm open.
Oh, so the 22nd would be ideal.
Yeah,
okay.
that'd be fine for me.
I'll see if Tony's, okay, so I'll shoot for the 22nd, and I mean, we could do it on a Zoom as far as that goes, but it'd be nice, I think, to be in a room with him with the paperwork and maybe Willoughby. I'll shoot for the 22nd. You want to do daytime, or I know that's tough for you, John Coker. Do you want to do it evening again, or?
If we're gonna go in person, I probably wouldn't be there on a Tuesday.
Oh, well, we can do another Zoom. I can get him to give me some stuff I can share, maybe.
That'd be great.
All right, we'll shoot for the 22nd. I'll see if Tony's around, and we'll see if Willoughby can make it. I'm not convinced we necessarily need Willoughby for this next one, but I'll see what Tony's got in the way of stuff to present to just us, and if it looks like it's complex enough we need Willoughby, I'll drag him in.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tom, you can think of fire-wise, or Chris?
I think you covered the other stuff. I mean, we're going to get some information on fire trucks, as we meet with the FDIC. I think the compressor is one that's going to come up I think, relatively quickly, because we are in the process of beginning to roll out our SCBA training. In order to do that, we got to buy a new compressor and new tanks for our ground tanks and our trucks, and that's going to be a bigger nut than that we're going to be able to cover with fundraising. So I think we're going to come back to the town as an equipment purchase on that one.
How much did you say that was going to be about?
I don't have the exact quotes, but it could be upwards of $40,000-$50,000. So, and it's a long-term, asset.
Right.
So,
Tom, what's long term?
the SCBAs themselves, John, correct me if I'm wrong, they're 25-year lifespan, at least 30-year lifespan. The ones we have right now, we've had my entire career, 18 years, and I think they were pretty used at that point. So I think we're talking 25, 30 years. And again, this is the compressor that will fill the tanks. We have a compressor today, and we had big ground tanks, but they will not get us to the level of 6,000 or 4,500 that we need. So we're going to need to replace that system. We've got some quotes already, and we can pull those together for this group.
Thanks, Tom.
We've got a fire officer meeting coming up in about, a week and a half or something?
Yeah, a week from now, I think. A week from now, yeah.
So we'll hopefully get some more dope to you, Mike. As soon as I get it, I can send it out to you, even if we're not meeting. Are you guys okay with this? We kind of set this up for the year moving forward on this date, as far as the meetings. If we want to stay with it, that's fine. If we want to move it around, that's not the end of the world either.
I'm good with it.
First Tuesday in the month is fine. Easy to remember.
Okay. All right. I'll try to get an idea about Tony on the 22nd. I'll send you guys a note on it. I'll try to get some information from him that I can share with you in terms of some of the paperwork. And maybe I'll run it by Chris Willoughby too and see whether he definitely wants to attend or if he knows, much about the method. Have you seen this, John, in your career, knocking around this sort of thing, or no?
Me, design built, yes. We sort of used one on sort of like that on the school, elementary school, several years ago. But that was just in the beginning stages. It wasn't. But yeah, I think that's the way to go. This project isn't that big in the scope of things. It's a lot for Long Beach, but it's not what I'd call a big project. $1 million or whatever it's going to cost. I don't think they'll have too much difficulty with it.
Okay. All right, that's all I've got, gents.
Sounds good.
We don't even need a motion, I don't think, do we?
Somebody turn the lights out on me. I'm in the dark here, so.
Nah, you look fine, Tom. It's better. Sometimes I was hoping Coker would be in the dark, but then
I'm usually in the dark. But I came to light,
All right, you guys. Thanks for everything. We'll see you later.
See
See
you.
you later.